Hold up! This isn't some cheesy kid show. This is Kids in the Tank, an interview with our keynote speakers and a young perspective on business and life from high school juniors and seniors.
Welcome to Kids in the Tank. I'm Caston, and with me in the tank are Ben and Peyton. Today we are honored to have Beth Ridley as our special guest. That's why she's combined her 25 years of corporate leadership and management consulting experience with her expertise in diversity and inclusion and positive psychology to launch the Brimful Life, her company. A company that helps build positive leaders, teams, and organized cultures. Beth, you are officially in the hot seat.
Oh boy. Thank you for having me. It's hot already. I'm scared.
All right. So, Beth, you will sell Try One New Thing a Week card decks on your website. Was today's card BizTank and the kids in the tank?
No, because I didn't know that this existed. But the whole purpose of the Try One New Thing a Week card deck, I actually tried one new thing a week for a full year several years ago, just as a way to learn and grow and push me outside of my comfort zone. So I really believe in new experiences, and this is definitely a new experience for sure.
Okay, so I have two questions. My first question is, what did you want to be growing up? And then, where was your favorite place or favorite memory growing up?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to be growing up. I knew more what I didn't want to be. And I think I just didn't want to have a job that, I went inside an office building, I was there all day. I really wanted something where I was traveling or out and about and learning about new cultures and visiting new things. And what was the other question? My favorite experience growing up?
What was your favorite memory or experience growing up?
I had a lot of friends in my neighborhood, and so this was before a ton of video games. So just making up games and playing outside, riding our bikes, just kind of a lot of freedom to go really far. Things weren't as structured then. They weren't after school activities. So just running around the neighborhood were some of my favorite childhood memories growing up.
Nice.
All right. So what professional positions in your career have you held that influenced your choice to become a leadership and engagement expert the most?
So two. One, I worked as a management consultant, and so I did that for about 4 years. And just what I liked about being a management consultant is that you could go in and help people even if you knew nothing about their business. And at first it's kind of scary because you have to work with CEOs of in the healthcare industry or the technology industry, and you're I've never worked in this industry, I have no idea. But all a consultant does is take all the information that's out there, organize it so people can see things more clearly and guide them through asking questions so that they can come up with their own answers. So that skill set is something I use in my job today. And then the other one was just being a leader myself and the responsibility of having to guide people through the workday. And a lot of that is you can't really separate the professional person from the personal person. People bring their personal lives and their personal selves to work. So as a leader, having to strike that balance and being able to support people in their personal life as well as in their professional life. And so I think just having done that for so many years is something that I incorporate in the job that I do today.
Okay, so ever since starting the Brimful Life, what has been the most significant or memorable experience or person that you worked with?
Oh, okay. Well, I only started it 7 or 8 months ago, so I don't have that much, but this is definitely going to be memorable and definitely a favorite experience hanging out with the three of you. I would say also just I've done a lot of different speaking opportunities. So last week I was in Chicago for this big event called the Night of Ideas, where they basically took over the Field Museum, which is the equivalent of our Natural History Museum, and they had over 3,000 people, 120 different speakers, all talking on the idea of alive. That was the theme. And so every nook and cranny of the museum was activated with performances and speakers, and so I got a chance to participate in that. So that last week and this tonight are probably my two most memorable experiences so far.
So as a modern woman in the business world, what is some advice you would give to future women seeking a career in the business world?
Oh, man. I think women bring such a natural skill set that is really needed in business. And I think, I've been working in the business world for so long. I started at a time when, being a good leader meant that you were really authoritative. You were, you would pound your fist on the table. You would lead by fear. And not to stereotype, but I don't know if, a lot of women naturally lead that way. I think a lot of times they feel that that's what they have to become in the workplace in order to be a strong leader. But the tide is really shifting. And some of the best leaders are those that, again, really know how to bring out the best in people and from leading from a place of optimism and not a place of fear. And I think a lot of women naturally bring that skill set to work, and it's becoming more and more of a valued leadership competency. So I would say women and men, be your authentic self at work. Don't assimilate too much to what you think you should be at work. People need your unique perspective, your fresh ideas, and the more that you can be yourself, the happier and the better you'll be, and then the company will benefit from that as well.
All right, so amongst the companies you have worked with, what has been the most common mistake or overlooked concept that companies make in the leadership process in generating engagement with their employees?
Yeah, I think just overlooking people. And I think people are generally not motivated by numbers or strategy. I think that's important so people have a sense of direction. But people are motivated when they see other people who are really excited about what they're doing. So if you can be a leader that is genuinely passionate about what you do and genuinely excited, that's really contagious. And people are generally moved by emotion more than by logic. And so I think a lot of times people in business, they leave the emotion out and they forget to have fun. They forget to, tap into a higher sense of purpose and meaning that really helps people feel connected to their work.
Okay, so Beth, we all get down sometimes, but does it ever just feel tiring to preach this positivity all the time? Does it ever seem fake almost?
That's too funny. I don't know if I get tired talking about it. I don't always live by it. I definitely don't. And in fact, I can often be a glass half full type of person versus a glass half empty. And I think that's kind of what makes me good at my job, because I recognize that, it takes work to have a positive outlook and to have a positive mental mindset. And there are plenty of times when my family, my husband, my friends, when I get down and be like, I don't know if I can do it, and they tell me, you have to tap into your own positive techniques and best practices that you give to others. So, I think it not every day is awesome. So it definitely takes work in order to have an overall positive outlook overall.
So for our last question, I would like to ask you, what would your biggest piece of advice be for our generation? Because a lot of people tell us things. So what would your advice be?
Well, I think to not worry about having to be so awesome and perfect right out of the gates. So you have a lot of runway ahead of you, and I feel like recently there's so much expectation that you're going to peak and be amazing when you're really, really young. And so just to remember that life is more of a marathon than a sprint, and that you'll have lots of life experiences. Some you'll love, some you'll hate, but they'll all be worthwhile and valuable. And that I like to say, don't peak too soon, right? I've gone to my high school reunions, and it's like the captain of this, the captain of that, the most popular person. And then you look at them like, oh, I think you peaked too soon. You peaked in high school. So maybe my advice is don't worry about peaking too soon, right? I'd like to say I have yet to peak. So just know that you have a long life ahead of you. And I don't think you have to sweat stuff so much as maybe society would make you think that you got to figure it all out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for answering our questions. We will now be moving into our next segment, Flip It.
Yes, I
where
was looking
you get
forward
to
to
ask
that.
us the questions.
Oh, so many questions. All right, so when I was talking, I said, yeah, I think it's really hard for kids your age. You're like, it's so hard. What is so hard? What's the hardest thing about being, what are you guys, 17, 18?
18.
18.
16.
16, 17, 18. What's the hardest thing about being your age?
Everyone expects you to, like, follow what they say. Like, I know, like, my grandparents are like, oh, you should be this. And it's like, well, do I really want to? Not really. And, like, really everyone expects all of us to go to college, but, like, some people don't want to do that. So, like, that's always really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going against the tide or the prevailing convention.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's their
Definitely.
number one stressor?
I would say for me, my number one would be just basic things in life. Because in high school, you're learning more, not specifics, but you do get a lot of classes where it's like, oh, biology or history, right? Which comes in handy sometimes. But, you know, there's not so many classes out there that teach you how to do your taxes or how to change your tire. And it's stuff that you will encounter. Or, like, if you get pulled over by the police, what do you do? Because I don't know what to do. If I get in an accident, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
that's something that I always find kind of stressful because it's like, I'm not prepared for this. What am I supposed to do? So I always find that hard where I, like, ask a parent or ask somebody that has been in that situation. So I try to learn more of everyday life that you're going to eventually encounter.
Oh, that's fascinating. I guess there is not a class for that, is there?
They're rare. They're hard to
No.
find sometimes.
They're so hard. There's no real life encounters, like, during school.
I never thought about it. So I'm trying to think about when. It's so funny that you say change a tire. I got a flat tire yesterday. Fortunately, I had AAA, so I don't have to know how to do it. I just have to know the number for AAA. My guess is for anything that you guys encounter, there's an app for that. So nowadays,
Definitely helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, helps a lot.
How about you? What's the biggest stress that you guys have?
I'm not exactly sure. I'd probably say maybe the biggest stress would probably be, like, people not exploring, like, as many options as, like, they could have. Like, some people, they get, like, when they grow up, they get, like, forced into one way of how, like, they do things or how they act. And then, like, they kind of get stuck in that way instead of, like, going out and exploring, like, their options and, like, what other experience they can, like, get to. And stuff,
so it's interesting. So I think what I'm hearing from you guys is adults are giving you too much advice on what to do with your life and not enough advice on the practical things of how to manage on a day-to-day basis. Fascinating. All right, my next question is about technology, because us adults feel like technology is corroding your brains. You spend way too much time on your phones and social media. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, so my family's, like, really strict on this. I got a phone sophomore year of high school, so I was, like, completely out of it until then. And it seems like my parents really don't like us spending time on our phone, which I can kind of understand because you want to socialize with other people or actually, like, engage in a family dinner or something like that, right? But a lot of messages or a lot of interaction is through your phone, like email, text, a lot of that, especially with work. I get most of my notifications to work, not just, like, face-to-face, because I work with, like, bigger companies rather. So that would be the main reason why I think, like, parents, I understand why they don't like it, but it's necessary. It's not like you can be a kid, go through high school without a phone. It's really difficult.
But
That's
do you
what I've
think it's
noticed.
corroding you? Like, in other words,
It can.
You're not fostering offline relationships, and, like, do you think that you're, like, worse off because of so much time on your phone?
It can, yes. I have noticed that. It's like you tend to be more bold on the phone. Like, if you see something that you disagree with, type it up on Instagram, like a comment or something like that, and then would you ever say that to a person face-to-face? I sure wouldn't. I know that, so...
Fascinating. How about you guys?
Going off of what he said, like, in today's world, it's, like, crucial to have, like, social media. Like, you see LinkedIn and Facebook and, like, even Instagram. Like, that's how, like, you communicate with, like, people, and that's how, like, your networking starts. Like, LinkedIn, like, it gets you a lot of networks, and, like, it gets you talking with people. And, like, with the jobs and, like, emails, like, that also contributes to it. Like, it helps a lot to have your phone. And, like, if something happened, like, at, like, your work or, like, with one of your friends, like, you wouldn't know unless you see them at school the next day. So it's just, like, it's, like, crucial in today's, like, society to have something.
Totally. Do you ever just feel that too much? Do you feel that you spend too much time on your phone and that has negative impacts or not?
I have to say sometimes it depends. Like I know there's like an app my mom sometimes uses for like screen time, and it shows like how much time you're on your phone. Yeah. And like I'll notice like sometimes like when my screen time goes down, I notice that like I've gone out and I've done more stuff with my friends.
Look at that.
And I've like spent less time on my phone and more interacting with people.
Right.
But then like other times, like when it goes up, I notice like I'll be at home more watching like Netflix or something.
Right.
So.
Well, I talked to my kids about it, and because I wanted to know, it's like, because my phone stresses me out sometimes if it's just the interruption, and my kids said, yeah, but for us it's fun. Like I get a lot of like notifications for work and it's stressful, but they're like, no, mostly it's fun. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you want older people to know most about your generation, or what's the most the biggest misconception, I guess, that adults have about people your age?
So I know for me, my grandparents, they hate my tattoos because I have 3 of them.
You do?
Yeah.
You're so young, too. Is that a thing now? Do they allow that in high school?
Yeah, they
do.
Yeah. And, like, with, like, my grandparents are like, oh, you'll never get a job. Like, you'll never be able to do anything. But, like, it's, like, times have changed now.
They
like,
sure have.
Almost all of my high school teachers, like, have tattoos. So I'm like, Grandpa, it's, like not a thing anymore where you can't get a job if you have a tattoo.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what, like, I want them to know. I'm like, it's not, like, a huge deal to, like, do that, to get it, to go do stuff.
Interesting. How about you guys? What's the biggest misconception about people your age?
Another thing with my grandpa, his way of communicating is arguing. He loves it. He loves it all the time. So whenever we go over, he's always trying to pick a fight. It's not really a fight. It's just like, it's a way of discussing and all. But he's also in that mindset where like, we are getting too addicted to our phones, or we're not socializing enough, or people are just overall a lot meaner to each other. So, I mean, yes, times have changed, but we also could focus more on interaction and like how to interact correctly, which he also, that's one probably his main disagreement is like how people interact, because a lot of it is through the phone, right? And I understand how he could kind of get annoyed with that, but it's like, it's also kind of part of your life. You have to deal with that. And I personally, I try to avoid the argument because that's just not my style.
Sure.
But a lot of good topics get brought up, so I always enjoy hearing that. So,
how about you? The biggest misconception that people have about people your age?
I'd have to probably say that, like, I guess my grandparents and sometimes my parents too, they tell me like to go out there instead of like sitting at home on my phone, like maybe making connections there, to like go out and actually like talk to people and like I don't know, like probably like interact with them and get opportunities there instead of like on our phones and stuff.
Right.
And so that's probably what I have to
Yeah, yeah. Well, for those of us who didn't grow up with cell phones, we're still trying to like figure out how to incorporate them in our lives in a healthy way. But I think for you grew up with them, so I think you naturally just have a more like easy way of incorporating them in your life. Okay, the other question I have is, what's your view about corporate America? Right, so I would say my parents' generation, maybe your grandfather would. Grew up this way. You find a company and you work there for your entire career. My generation is a little bit more like, no, the way you build a career is you go from company to company to company to company. Oh, and by the way, it's not a guarantee that the company will even keep you for your career. So always be prepared to move around. And then you hear a lot now about the gig economy and that people prefer to be contractors rather than employees. How do you guys just feel about when you hear corporate America? What does that mean to you? Do you envision yourselves working for a company, and what does that look like to you?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go.
Okay.
I'm still thinking.
Okay, so I could never see myself working behind a desk. I'm always a hands-on guy. I love working with my hands, whether it's with metals, wood, engines. I just love that. That's my style of work, and that's where I'm going to be going into after high school. So I see corporate America as like, it's not the backbone. I would say actually like mechanics or hands-on workers would be the backbone, but corporate America really helps with like the economy or Wall Street or like things that kind of do influence the overall atmosphere of the USA, I guess you could say. So
But sort of that not for you, that environment,
not-
like sitting at a desk.
not
and
for me,
meetings.
but is very important at the same time.
Yeah.
I like agree with him. Like, I don't want to do the same thing every day. I don't want to sit at a desk and just continue to like do the same thing, because that just seems boring. But like, it is important in America to have corporates, but it's just like it wouldn't be the thing that I would go and do.
Sure.
Because like I need to do something different every day, otherwise I get bored.
Yeah.
Like school every day, same thing, boring. I can't do it.
My kids say. How about you?
I'd have to agree. I probably wouldn't like sitting behind a desk and
Right.
like doing stuff every day. But I would like, if I wasn't maybe corporate America, I'd probably like go out more and like, hello, you said you like to travel.
Yeah.
I'd probably like to travel more and like meet with different like companies, you could say, from either like just in America or even around the world and stuff. So
Let's see. So maybe time for one more question. What is most annoying about the adults in your life? What do you find most annoying?
There's like a list.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
If you could narrow it down to maybe just the top three.
Okay.
The top three things, like, man, you like, if you could tell us just to stop, what should we just stop that?
I'd have to say like personally like my mom tells me to do stuff like over and over and over
Yes,
again.
repetitiveness. That's the one
And-
thing that
and
really
like
gets to me.
sometimes like like if I have like to miss a practice sometimes for my coach, my mom's always like, you got to be the first one to tell him. You got to tell him like a week in advance, and like I understand that, and like I usually do, and then like she'll come back, she's like, did you tell him? Did you tell him? And she's like make sure you tell him, because like you don't want to be that last minute person, and it just like
But do you think if she didn't remind you that you would do it?
that's where like I feel like I would if I did it right away, but if like I procrastinate, then I do kind of like the repetitiveness of her like coming to tell me to do it. But then like if I did it and then she like keeps telling me like I already did it, so
Yeah, that's a tough one. I do that to my kids a lot. But you know why? Like, this just happened this morning. I told my son to wash the sink when he was done brushing his teeth. And I probably told him 3 times, did you hear me? I said, wash the sink, walk away. So don't forget to wash the sink. Did you hear me? He comes downstairs, did you wash the sink? And he runs back upstairs. So there is this, like, we don't think you always do what we so we have to repeat ourselves. But yeah, that would be annoying. I wouldn't like it if somebody did that to me. All right, do you narrow it down to a few?
So I know with me, like, my grandpa is always like, oh, have you talked to the college yet? Have you contacted them? Do they know about, like, your financials? Have you applied? Like, he just, like, always talking about school and, like, if I've done, like, school. And it kind of goes off, like, the repetitive thing. Like, yes, I did it. Let it go. Calm down.
Yeah.
That really gets annoying with, like, college and asking what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's from a place of love. The other thing is that I hear you though on like 'cause I always used to ask my kids how was school and they'd be like fine. So I had to come up with more creative ways of asking them because I was like, yeah, that question would be boring. Like if I came home from work every day and somebody said how was work, like you know. All right, one thing that you wish adults would just stop.
I would say protectiveness.
Oh.
I know it's hard, but basically my whole life I've been protected, right? Because
Yes.
they hated it when I would go out with my friends.
Yes.
Like there's been times where I would ask, I say, hey, would you mind if I hang out? My dad says no. So you don't even know who it is, and he says, I don't care. You'll get in trouble. So I've stayed out of trouble my whole life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taken a toll because it's like I really wish I hung out with my friends more because once I graduate, which is only a few months away, it's gonna be
Right.
like this is probably the last time I'll see more than 75% of these people.
Huh.
So it's like I really wish I spent more time with them, but I couldn't because my parents didn't want me to. They say
Interesting.
stay home and help with chores. You can always hang out with them later, and then
So you don't
That would never
envision
happen.
staying in touch with your friends from high school necessarily?
no, I would, but just like because a lot of them I haven't really gotten to hang out with or a strong bond. So it's not like, oh, we should go hang out every Friday. I would be like, well, that's kind of weird because I don't know you too much. Like, I got like maybe 5 really strong friends,
Right.
but the rest of them is just acquaintances. Like, you know who they are,
Right.
first name, you know a little bit about them,
Right.
but you've never spent a lot of time with them. So,
Fascinating. Hey, this is helpful. I'm going to go home and be a better parent now. So I know to stop repeating my questions, to let my kids hang out more, and to ask more than just, how was school? Did you apply? Did you send in the application? Thank you. And I won't freak out if one of them comes home with a tattoo. I'll freak out just a little, not full on freak out. Thanks,
all right.
guys.
Well, Beth, thank you so much for your insight. And we really appreciate asking questions. I like this. This is really fun. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
A quick shout out to Beth for being our guest on Kids in the Tank. Before we continue with our last segment, the roundtable, here's a word from our sponsors.
All right, welcome back to Kids in the Tank. We are now entering in our third and final segment, the roundtable, where we will be talking about today's hot topics and trends.
All right. Let's start with the obvious, which happened last week, which was really terrible, which was the Kobe incident with the helicopter crash.
That's
I don't know
tragic.
how familiar you guys are with this, but go ahead. Like, do you know
That
anything
was
about?
so bad.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I remember I have like a Catholic like retreat for my confirmation, and I remember we were like just finishing up there, and I checked my phone, and in my basketball group chat, they're like, Kobe died. I was like, what? I was like, nah. So I looked it up on Google, right? And it said that like everyone was reporting it and that like Kobe died in a helicopter crash. I was like, this is probably fake. And then
Yeah, that was my first
I was like, nah.
thing that came to my mind was like, this can't be right. Like, how is that possible? So,
I was on my way home from a science fair, like, with my school, and there were only a couple of us, and my teacher, her husband had, like, Kobe's, like, name tattooed on him and everything from, like, years ago, and her daughter was like, Mom, Kobe just died, and I was like, who's that? And her mom was like, oh my God, your dad's gonna be so upset when we get home. So, like, they had to stop and, like, buy him ice cream. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was really sad. And then it got even worse when to find out his
It
daughter
just-
was
His daughter,
born.
too.
It just continued getting worse. Like,
Yeah, and
just
like
kept
And then
going downhill.
Wasn't there like another teammate?
Yeah, it was-
And her parents or
it
something.
was Kobe and Gigi, and then you had 2 of Kobe's teammates, and the parents, and then the pilot. So I think it was like 9 people in total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I feel like it really affected like everyone. Like even though I'm not really like a sports person, it's kind of like sad to hear that someone that affected so many lives in a great way like passed like that.
Yeah, like talking about how he affected people. He had his own, I think, like gym. I think it was like the Mamba it's like Mamba Mentality Gym or something like that. And the day before he died or passed away and crashed, he was like at the gym, like giving everyone high fives and encouraging all of them to, you know.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
It's just that everyone knew him as that person, which I think is really great that like he was able to have a positive impact
on so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just awful whenever that happens. Like, whoever it is, even if you don't follow it, it's like you can see the effect that they had on their peers or other people, especially looking at, like, other basketball players' responses, like LeBron and Shaq and all of those people that played with him. Is like, is this awful to see this? Because this guy was their friend. Like, maybe we didn't know him personally, but he was friends to, like, hundreds of people.
Yeah.
So,
and especially since it like wasn't expected either. Like that makes it like even like worse.
yeah. All right. What else do we want to talk about?
We can move on
How
to
are the Grammys?
Mm,
Did anyone watch the Grammys?
Nah.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I guess I'm the only one.
Let's go
That's
to
okay.
Wendy Williams farted live on air. Did you guys see the video?
I did see that.
No.
Yes.
I saw
That
that.
was so
She just kind of leaned a little and like.
Let it out, and
Why?
she denied it too. And it's like, why
Yeah.
would you deny that?
Why
Everyone
would
can
you?
hear.
Just own up to it.
Yeah.
Nobody would care if you. No.
If you would have owned up to it, it would have made it so much
Yeah, it would just
easier.
fly out. But
like,
if you deny it, it makes
like,
things so
okay.
much worse.
and why would you even do that? That's so bad. Who likes the Super Bowl? Like, who like actually watched it?
I watched the
didn't.
whole thing.
I didn't watch the
didn't.
whole thing, but like I still like pay attention.
I
to
only
it and
watched
stuff,
the halftime show and then I continued
I only
watching a
wa-
different
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Like I did not care at all.
I only watched some clips of Shakira and J-Lo on Twitter specifically.
I know that there
'Cause I
were
didn't-
like a bunch of bets on it and like my boyfriend had a bet and like he lost the bet, but like
I know there was talking about bets. There was I forgot. I think it was a rapper. He put like 300,000 on the Chiefs to win and came out with like 650,000.
oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's like actually crazy.
Dang.
That's a lot of money to put
If we
on
have
that.
that money though.
Yeah, like
You
that would
already
be
know,
like,
you
let's
already
be
know.
honest, that would be nice, but that's okay.
Yeah.
The halftime show I thought it was good. Like, personally, I
I
thought
missed it. I was
Oh, you
at,
missed
like,
it?
Yeah.
a bunch of
I was-
people are like ripping on it, and I was like,
What? Like
exactly. I was like, guys, it's like I thought it's not
It's
as bad
okay.
as Katy Perry. Like, let's be real, Katy Perry was horrible. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I know some NBA players like did they like tweeted and like
Yeah.
I think it was Luka Doncic and he's like the halftime show was good and then like Giannis was like that
Yeah,
almost got me in
I
trouble
saw Giannis.
and he was
Oh
like
my god.
Being
so
honest,
funny.
though. Yeah.
it's funny.
Does anyone like country?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
do, yeah.
So
like,
do you
I
know?
don't mind it but, like
So everyone, does anyone know who Chase Rice is?
No.
yeah I think I've heard of him but like
I don't.
Isn't
no.
he he's a country singer, right?
yeah I'm pretty sure
Yeah. Okay, so like I like Chase Rice, but that's okay. We'll just not talk about that one.
He got slammed on The Bachelor for what? Do you know?
yeah it was she apparently like the Bachelor like the guy
Yeah.
took the girl on a date to like a Chase Rice concert and
Wait,
Chase
to who?
Chase
Oh.
Chase Rice concert, and Chase Rice was that girl's ex.
Ooh,
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
that's
funny.
rough.
I
If
wonder if
that's
I wonder
the
if the
case, then-
producers knew that and they just purposely set it up. They're like, hey,
Probably.
Oh,
They're
for
like,
sure.
oh, yeah,
It should be a
let's
for
just,
fun
sure.
and-
let's
Obviously
just
to
take
create
this.
drama.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's hilarious.
But
That's
like you
pretty
gotta
good.
do what you gotta do to get people to watch it. So
Yeah, true.
I mean, yeah.
Do you guys watch The Bachelor?
no.
No,
No.
Very
I know
totally
of
honest,
it,
don't
but
watch
I don't
it.
watch it.
yeah,
I
I think my
just,
mom
like-
watches it, but I'm not sure.
I just like listen to the girls talk at like the lunch table, and they're like, "Oh my god, the Bachelor," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm like nice, that's cool."
yeah. And did you guys see any of the Super Bowl ads?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
If I didn't
There-
watch the Super Bowl, I didn't watch. Yeah, for sure did not watch the ads.
I saw like one, and it was like the dude was watching the Super Bowl or whatever, and he like spilled something on his shirt.
Tight
And
ends. Yeah.
And he was like, is it time now to wash it? Is it time now? And like it just went through a bunch of like scenes. And he's like, is it time now? And then I think it cut to like another commercial for the Masked Singer, and it like the dude like hopped in on that commercial. Was like, is it time now? And I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. There's just like 4 different commercials throughout the whole game that was related just to that first one, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know that actor, but he's awesome. He was in, I want to say It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Horrible Bosses 1 and 2. I don't know if. No,
yeah.
I don't know the actor's name. I don't know
He's
the
awesome,
actor.
though. I just know I saw one movie. It was called Pacific Rim, and he was in both of them. There's like 2 Pacific Rims.
I know
and,
what the actor is on. I know
And
who it is.
he was like, at first he was like a good guy, and he like was a scientist that like helped them like in order to I guess like defeat like the problem that they had. And then in the second one, he was like one of the main, I think it was antagonists, right? That are like the bad guys.
I don't know. I don't pay
I just
attention
know
in
he
English.
was like a bad
Isn't
guy.
that an English thing?
What?
I only saw
Wait,
a couple
what?
of them, and I thought they were weird. The Super
Oh yeah. Okay.
the Super Bowl ads. I thought like a couple of them were like really weird and pointless.
I feel like Super Bowl ads are kind of interesting though. Like I haven't seen these ones, but like past ones, they're kind of like
They've
very
been
creative.
Funny, yeah.
No,
They've been
they're
funnier.
expensive.
Super,
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure. Like
Like, it's so weird.
what was it? Oh my god. It was like for 1 second, it was like 1,000 something.
I'm pretty sure the stat is 30 seconds is 5 million.
Oh
Just
my
crazy.
Exactly. Just
god!
Yeah.
I mean, if
That's
you
a
have the
lot of
money.
money.
But
You have
I mean,
the money, I guess, do it.
a
But
lot
like,
of Americans tune into the Super Bowl. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's
that's very
over
true,
100
too.
million. I think it's crazy.
That's like so much
So,
money though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't pay attention that much to the Super Bowl ads, but like the new Geico ads, I think are hilarious. Like the
Yeah.
sequels, that stuff's pretty good.
Okay.
Anything else that came up this week? Trying to think.
This week,
This week. Well, there's like political stuff, but I don't really want to talk about that.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, isn't today when they like decide?
Oh, it's been done. No, they acquitted him, so it's out.
Yeah.
So
and that like everyone.
Everybody knew that,
Yeah.
though.
Just because majority.
I know in sports about like the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game, they're changing the rules. It's super weird. They're doing like, so it's like 3 quarters, but they're all separated. So the first quarter they play, and whoever wins that quarter, like with the most points, wins that quarter. And then the second quarter they start at 0, and the third quarter they start at 0, and then they take a combination of all those like points, and then they add them all up. Say they had like 100 points in all 3 of those quarters.
Yeah.
At the end, they're adding 24 for Kobe. And then Team LeBron is wearing 2, I believe, for Gigi. And Team Giannis is wearing 24 for Kobe. And so, like, they, like, changed it, like, in order to honor Kobe and stuff. So,
That's awesome, though.
yeah.
Yeah. You know when that is?
I wish I did. I don't know the date.
That's fine. I could look it up later, but
Yeah.
anything else?
I don't
think so.
know anything
I don't
that
got
happened this
anything.
week.
No? Okay. I got some. Well, how about football? You don't mind that? XFL. XFL. That's starting next week. It's a new football league. So that was with Vince Mahone, the wrestler guy. He's like super rich. And he tried the XFL, I think, like 20 years ago, and it failed. So they
why
brought it back this year, and it's starting next week.
Why are they trying it again if it failed?
Just a side gig, I would assume. I mean, people love watching football, and there's no football during the spring, so they're like, oh, let's just bring it back. They tried that
But there's
last year.
baseball.
Yeah, there is baseball, but it's like, how many people really tune into baseball? It's like a cult following, or it's like, oh, it's baseball, you know?
I love
Like,
baseball.
no offense, but just.
It's okay. It's fine. It's good.
But yeah, they had a league last year. It was the AAF. It was kind of like the XFL. It was different than the NFL. The rules were different, and it was going really, really good. However, the owners like just screwed up payments for the players and the coaches and just marketing, and they just went bankrupt, and they weren't able to finish off the season. They didn't even get to play the championship game, and it was really horrible because everybody loved the AAF. It was something different than the NFL because there was different rules and all. But
So
Wait,
is it?
so this? Oh.
Is it like the NFL?
Yeah, it was football.
Oh,
It was just
okay.
different rules. So, like, after a touchdown, you either get to choose a 2-point or a extra point. Everybody does the extra point. It's always a kick, right? So the AAF, you have to do a 2-point. And now in the XFL, what they're going to do is you can do a 1-point, 2-point, or 3-point after the touchdown. So it's something different. It's just like a different spin on it.
Okay,
Just
so
to
it's kind
draw.
of like the CFL. Do you know what the CFL is?
The Canadian League? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a CFL, but I know I saw like some rules is like they don't have like I don't think they have a false start. So you can have someone like a wide receiver like running like back and just like full takeoff like when the snap starts. And
Just
so,
to get
like,
that momentum?
Yeah, it's just
That's
like
awesome.
I don't know. So, and I know like they can't like when they line up. So you have like the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
But like the defensive line, usually it's like right on the ball and it's super close, but it's like 2 yards back from what I've seen. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Something different.
Nothing
Yeah.
about football.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. That's
Oh.
why we look. No, yeah. I mean, like, it's interesting to watch, but I just don't know, like, the terminology and all that stuff. So it's like, oh, wow, like, I'm trying my best to understand.
Yeah, sorry. A lot of it is like, yeah, if you don't understand, it's
No,
hard
you're
to
okay,
follow.
you're
but-
okay.
Yeah.
All right, we good?
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you for listening to Kids in the Tank. Make sure to tune in next week for our guest, Dan Tretola.
1, 2,
two,
3. Kids in the tank out.
BizTank isn't possible without your help. For more information on BizTank and how you can help, interact with us on our social media or visit our website at gsbiztank.org.